Chosen one, do not open the door too quickly. Someone, something, or some unfinished chapter connected to your past is moving toward your life. And the strange part is, you may already feel it before you can explain it. A name may be rising in your mind again. A memory may be returning without warning. A certain person may keep appearing in your dreams, your thoughts, your conversations, or even in small signs around you. Or maybe it is not a person. Maybe it is an opportunity you thought was gone, a door you thought had closed, a message you stopped waiting for, a conversation you never thought would happen, a sudden invitation, a sudden call, a sudden return, a sudden opening that makes you stop and wonder, why now? But listen carefully. The fact that something is coming does not mean you must immediately open. The fact that someone knocks does not mean they carry peace. The fact that an apology arrives does not mean access must be restored. The fact that a door opens does not mean you are supposed to run through it. This message is not here to make you afraid. It is here to make you prepared. Because what is coming toward your life may not arrive loudly. It may not arrive with obvious signs. It may not even look spiritual at first. It may look like a simple text message, a missed call, a familiar name, a random invitation, a conversation you were not expecting, a memory that comes back so strongly that it feels like the past has stepped into the room. And when it comes, your first reaction will matter. Not because one wrong move can destroy your destiny, but because this season is teaching you something deeper. You are no longer allowed to let old wounds answer the door for you. You are no longer allowed to let guilt make decisions for you. You are no longer allowed to let loneliness pretend to be discernment. You are no longer allowed to mistake pressure for divine timing. Because this time, chosen one, the meeting is not only about who is coming, it is about who you have become. And before this message is over, you are going to understand the signs that often appear before this kind of meeting, why the past sometimes returns right when you are finally becoming peaceful, how to know whether this is restoration, closure, a test, or a new assignment, and how to prepare your mind and spirit so you do not react from fear when you are being called to respond from wisdom. You will also receive a simple inner practice before the end of this message, something you can carry with you when the name appears, when the door is approached, when the message comes, when the opportunity opens, when your heart begins beating faster and the old version of you tries to take control. Because the worst thing you can do in this season is meet a divine moment with an unprepared mind. And, yes, I said mind. Many people talk about the heart. Many people talk about the spirit. Many people talk about faith. And all of that matters. But a chosen one also needs a clear mind. Because if your mind is crowded, fear will answer first. If your mind is noisy, guilt will sound like love. If your mind is exhausted, pressure will sound like urgency. If your mind is still carrying the old wound, a familiar voice can sound like destiny even when it is only a test. That is why this message is important. Before the meeting arrives, clarity must return, because they are coming to the door of your life. But the real door is not your front door. It is not your phone. It is not your inbox. It is not the place where the conversation happens. The real door is the place inside you where you decide what gets access to your peace. And that place has been through a lot. There was a time when people could walk straight into your inner world without asking. They entered through guilt. They entered through old love. They entered through your compassion. They entered through your fear of disappointing them. They entered through your need to be understood. They entered through your hope that if you loved enough, explained enough, waited enough, endured enough, and forgave enough, maybe they would finally see your value. But now, something has changed. You may not have all the words for it yet, but you can feel it. The old version of you would have answered immediately. The old version of you would have sent the long paragraph. The old version of you would have tried to make peace before checking whether peace was actually present. The old version of you would have opened the door just because someone knocked with emotion in their voice. The old version of you would have confused being needed with being chosen. But the version of you being formed now is different. You are slower now, not because you are cold, because you are wise. You are quieter now, not because you have nothing to say, because you no longer waste sacred words on people who only wanted access, not understanding. You are more careful now, not because your heart is closed, because your peace finally has value in your own eyes. And that is why this meeting matters. Because when they come, when the message comes, when the opportunity comes, when the conversation comes, it will not only reveal what they want from you, it will reveal what still has access to you. That is the deeper test. Not whether they changed, but whether you still abandon yourself when something familiar returns. Not whether they say the perfect words, but whether you can hear those words without handing over the key to your inner home. Not whether the door opens, but whether you can stand at the threshold without losing your center. So I need you to slow down with me. Do not rush this message. Do not listen to it as entertainment. Listen as preparation, because some of you have already felt the signs. Maybe you keep waking up with a strange heaviness in your chest. Not panic exactly, not sadness exactly. More like your body knows something is approaching before your mind can prove it. Maybe you have been dreaming about houses, doors, roads, old rooms, old faces, or someone standing at a threshold. In the dream, you may not even know whether to let them in or walk away. But when you wake up, the feeling stays with you. Maybe you are doing something ordinary, washing a cup, driving, lying in bed, checking your phone, and suddenly one person comes into your mind with unusual force. Not a random thought, a presence, a memory with weight. Maybe a song plays at the exact moment you were wondering about them. Maybe a phrase follows you from one place to another. Maybe the same kind of message keeps appearing around you. Maybe your emotions have been moving in waves. One moment you feel peaceful. The next moment you feel a sadness you cannot explain. Then hope rises. Then silence. Then a strange knowing that something unfinished is moving toward completion. Do not ignore that. But also, do not let it make you afraid. There is a difference between fear and discernment. Fear makes you shrink. Discernment makes you still. Fear says, something bad is coming. Discernment says, something important is approaching, and you must be awake. Fear rushes you into defense. Discernment teaches you to listen without surrendering your peace. Some of you have also felt an unusual urge to clean your space, organize your room, change your routine, pull back from certain people, protect your energy, or make your environment quieter. You may not know why, but something inside you has been saying, clear the noise. Make room. Stop giving every voice a seat inside your mind. Stop letting old conversations live rent-free in your spirit. Stop letting the past rehearse itself inside your nervous system. That is not random. Before a meeting happens outside you, a meeting often begins inside you. Before someone stands at the door, their presence may begin moving through your memory. Before a conversation takes place in the physical world, your spirit may start preparing the inner room where that conversation will land. The spirit often hears the knock before the body sees the visitor. But now we have to go deeper, because when you hear they are coming, your mind may immediately think of one person. Maybe someone who hurt you, maybe someone you still love, maybe someone who left without explanation, maybe someone who misunderstood you, rejected you, betrayed you, used you, judged you, or disappeared when you needed them most. Maybe someone who made you question your own worth. Maybe someone who made you feel like you had to beg for the basic respect that should have been given freely. And yes, for some of you, it may be that person. Someone from your past may be moving toward a conversation. They may be carrying an apology. They may be carrying curiosity. They may be carrying regret. They may be carrying a question they did not have the courage to ask before. They may be coming because distance finally revealed what pride once hid from them. But listen carefully. Just because someone returns does not mean they are ready to honor what they once mishandled. Some people come back because they have changed. Some people come back because they miss the access they lost. Some people come back because the door they chose did not open the way they thought it would. Some people come back because your silence finally became louder than your explanations. Some people come back because they finally see you. And some come back because they want to see if the old version of you is still available. That is why your job is not to panic. Your job is to discern, because they may not come with cruelty. They may come softly. They may come politely. They may say the right words. They may sound sorry. They may appear humble. They may speak in the tone you once prayed they would use when you were breaking. But the question is not only, do they sound different? The question is, do they carry different fruit? There is a kind of return that brings peace. There is a kind of return that brings pressure. There is a kind of return that brings clarity. There is a kind of return that brings confusion. There is a kind of return that helps close a cycle. And there is a kind of return that tries to reopen a wound and call it love. That is why preparation matters. But they may not be a person at all. They may be an opportunity. A door you thought was closed may open again. An invitation may come suddenly. A conversation about your work, your purpose, your gift, your calling, your voice, your business, your ministry, your creativity, or your next assignment may appear without warning. Something you prayed for in a different season may return in a form you do not immediately recognize. And this may confuse you, because you may think, why now? Why after all this waiting? Why after I stopped chasing it? Why after I finally surrendered it? Why after I stopped needing it to prove who I am? Because some things are not released when you want them. They are released when you are ready to carry them. There are blessings that would have overwhelmed the old you. There are rooms you could not have entered before because you still needed too much validation from the wrong people. There are opportunities that could not find you while you were still negotiating with your past. There are assignments that required your nervous system to stop living in survival before your voice could carry authority. So if an opportunity comes suddenly, do not assume it is random, but do not worship it either. A door can open and still require discernment. An offer can be real and still require peace. An invitation can be connected to your future and still need timing, wisdom, and inner confirmation. The chosen one does not run through every open door. The chosen one listens at the threshold. And there is another layer. They may be a test, not a punishment, not a cruel game, not something sent to break you, but a moment that reveals whether an old pattern still has power over your response. Because sometimes the past comes near just to show you that it no longer owns you. Sometimes the person who once made you beg for clarity returns when you no longer need their explanation to be whole. Sometimes the opportunity you once chased appears when you have finally learned not to build your identity on outcomes. Sometimes the conversation you once rehearsed in your mind arrives when your heart no longer needs to win, prove, expose, or defend. That is the hidden mercy of this meeting. It may reveal that you have changed more than you thought. You may hear their voice and realize you do not tremble the same way. You may see their message and realize you do not need to respond immediately. You may feel the old emotion rise, but this time it does not take the steering wheel. You may remember what happened, but the memory no longer becomes a prison. That is growth. Not the kind people always applaud. Not the kind that looks dramatic from the outside, but the kind heaven recognizes. The kind formed in silence. The kind built through lonely nights, unanswered questions, closed doors, and seasons where you had to choose peace with no audience watching. This meeting is not sent to break you. It is sent to reveal what has already changed in you. And this is where many chosen ones miss the deeper preparation. They think preparation means rehearsing what to say. They think it means predicting who will come. They think it means figuring out every possible outcome before the moment arrives. But the deepest preparation is not control. The deepest preparation is alignment. It is the quiet inner decision that says, when the meeting comes, I will not betray my peace to manage someone else's reaction. I will not abandon my discernment because the timing feels intense. I will not confuse urgency with truth. I will not let an old wound answer the door before wisdom arrives. Let that settle inside you. You do not have to know every detail right now. You do not have to know the exact day, the exact person, the exact message, or the exact form of the meeting. But you do need to prepare the inner room where your response will be born. Because if the room inside you is crowded with fear, you may not recognize peace when it speaks. If the room inside you is filled with mental noise, even divine guidance can feel far away. Not because guidance is absent, but because the room is too loud. This is why I want to seed something in your spirit early. Before the meeting arrives, do not only pray for the right answer. Prepare the mind that will have to hear it. Because you can receive a sign and still misread it if your mind is exhausted. You can receive an opportunity and still mishandle it if your thoughts are scattered. You can receive an apology and still give too much access if guilt is louder than wisdom. You can receive a message from the past and still lose your peace if your nervous system is still trained to survive instead of discern. A chosen one does not only need a sensitive heart, a chosen one needs a clear mind. And later in this message, I am going to show you why clarity is one of the greatest protections you can carry before this meeting arrives. Because when your mind becomes quiet enough, you stop chasing every knock. You stop answering from panic. You stop calling pressure confirmation. You stop confusing familiar pain with home. You stop letting the old wound impersonate the voice of God. But for now, hold this sentence. Only peace gets access. Not pressure, not guilt, not confusion, not manipulation dressed as tenderness, not urgency pretending to be divine timing. Only peace gets access. This does not mean every uncomfortable meeting is wrong. Sometimes truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes closure is emotional. Sometimes healing makes your hands shake a little because the old wound remembers what the healed part has already survived. But even when truth is uncomfortable, it does not violate your spirit. Even when closure is painful, it does not demand that you abandon yourself. Even when a divine meeting is weighty, it does not require you to become small again. So if they come with peace, you will know how to listen. If they come with pressure, you will know how to pause. If they come with confusion, you will know not to rush. If they come with accountability, you will know how to receive it without surrendering your wisdom. And if they come carrying the same old pattern in softer clothing, you will know that a familiar voice does not deserve a familiar place simply because it remembers your name. I want you to imagine this for a moment. Imagine a person who spent years waiting for one message. They were misunderstood. They were dismissed. They were left with words they never got to say. For a long time, they imagined the meeting. They imagined being vindicated. They imagined the other person finally admitting the truth. They imagined the apology. They imagined the tears. They imagined the moment everything would finally feel fair. But while they were waiting for the other person to change, something unexpected happened. They changed. Quietly, slowly, painfully. They stopped rehearsing revenge. They stopped needing the other person to name the wound before they believed their own pain. They stopped standing emotionally by the old door. They began rebuilding the house within themselves. Not perfectly, not dramatically, quietly. And then one day, the message came. The name appeared on the screen. The old heartbeat returned for a moment. The old rush. The old need to answer immediately. The old urge to prove they were kind, available, forgiving, spiritual, good. But this time, something deeper spoke. Wait, not out of fear, out of wisdom. So they waited. They did not collapse. They did not send a long explanation. They did not let the old wound pick up the phone. They let peace arrive first. And when the meeting finally happened, they realized something that changed everything. The apology did not make them whole. The conversation did not give them power. The other person's regret did not create their value. The meeting only proved what had already happened in the hidden place. They were free. That is what may happen for you. The meeting may not give you what you thought you needed. It may reveal that you no longer need it in the same way. You may hear the apology and feel gratitude, but not dependence. You may receive the explanation and feel peace, but not attachment. You may see the opportunity and feel readiness, but not desperation. You may face the old pattern and realize it has no throne inside you anymore. That is the deeper meaning of preparation. You are not preparing so you can control them. You are preparing so they do not control you. You are not preparing so you can predict every outcome. You are preparing so no outcome steals your center. You are not preparing so the meeting becomes perfect. You are preparing so you remain whole inside whatever the meeting reveals. And before we go further, I need to speak to the part of you that still feels guilty for needing boundaries. Because there is a lie many chosen ones have carried for too long. The lie says, if you are loving, you must always be available. The lie says, if you are forgiving, you must give instant access. The lie says, if you are spiritual, you should not need time. The lie says, if someone is hurting, their pain automatically becomes your assignment. But not every need is your assignment. Not every apology requires access. Not every emotional emergency is a divine instruction. Not every person who misses you has been changed enough to meet the person you have become. Being loving does not mean being unguarded. Being forgiving does not mean being foolish. Being spiritual does not mean ignoring what your body, your wisdom, and your peace are telling you. There is a holy difference between an open heart and an unlocked life. You can have an open heart and still have a guarded door. You can wish someone healing and still not invite them back into your inner rooms. You can listen with grace and still refuse to be rushed. You can forgive the past and still refuse to repeat it. This is why the meeting could not happen earlier. Earlier, you might have answered from fear. Earlier, you might have said yes just to avoid discomfort. Earlier, you might have mistaken their return for your worth. Earlier, you might have believed that if they came back, it meant you were finally enough. But now you know better. Their return does not create your value. Their apology does not create your healing. Their recognition does not create your identity. Their regret does not create your calling. You were already being formed before they ever thought to come back. The silence was not empty. It was formation. The delay was not rejection. It was protection. The separation was not wasted. It was clearing. The wilderness was not proof that you were forgotten. It was the place where your spirit learned to hear without the noise of everyone else's demands. What felt like isolation was actually incubation. What felt like delay was actually development. What felt like loss was actually space. What felt like silence was actually strategy. You were being taught how to stop explaining yourself to people who only wanted access, not understanding. You were being taught how to let a door remain closed without standing beside it all night, waiting for someone to knock. You were being taught how to build a home inside yourself that does not collapse just because someone from the outside raises their voice, changes their tone, cries, apologizes, or offers you what you once begged for. And now, because this message is not only about emotion but preparation, I want you to notice something. If the meeting came today, what would answer first? Would peace answer? Would wisdom answer? Would clarity answer? Or would panic answer? Would guilt answer? Would the old wound answer? Would the version of you who still wants to prove your worth answer? This question is not here to shame you. It is here to awaken you. Because many chosen ones are spiritually sensitive but mentally exhausted. They feel deeply. They sense things early. They notice patterns. They know when something is approaching. But because their mind has been carrying pressure for so long, they sometimes struggle to separate intuition from anxiety. They struggle to know whether the feeling is a warning, a wound, a memory, or a message. They struggle to know whether the open door is divine timing or another cycle wearing a new outfit. This is why clarity is not a luxury in this season. Clarity is protection. Clarity is preparation. Clarity is the space where peace can speak before panic makes a decision. And in the next part, we are going to go deeper into the rule of the doorway, the 4 questions you must ask before giving anything access, and why a clear mind may be the difference between repeating the old cycle and stepping into the new season. But before we enter that, let this sentence stand over the door of your inner life. Only peace gets access. Say it inside yourself. Only peace gets access. Not because you are afraid, because you are awake. Not because you are bitter, because you are clear. Not because you are closing your heart, because you are protecting the house God has been rebuilding inside you. And when the meeting comes, you will not meet it as the wounded version of you who only wanted to be chosen. You will begin to meet it as the formed version of you who finally understands. A knock is not a command. A message is not a command. An apology is not a command. An opportunity is not a command. A familiar voice is not a command. You are allowed to pause before you answer. You are allowed to let peace arrive before your response leaves. You are allowed to test the spirit of what is approaching before you give it a place inside your life. Because the door may be approached, but the house is still yours. But the house is still yours. And if the house is still yours, then you must understand the rule of the doorway. Because once you understand this, you will never again confuse a knock with a command. A knock is not a command. A message is not a command. An apology is not a command. An opportunity is not a command. A sudden emotion is not a command. A familiar voice is not a command. Even the return of someone you once prayed for is not a command. You are allowed to pause before you answer. You are allowed to breathe before you decide. You are allowed to let time reveal what emotion cannot. You are allowed to test what is approaching before you give it access to the most sacred parts of your life. This is where many chosen ones get caught. Not because they are weak, because they are deep. They feel things before other people admit them. They sense pain in someone's voice. They notice the tremble behind an apology. They can detect loneliness behind someone's pride. They can feel when someone is carrying regret, even if that person does not know how to say it correctly. And because chosen ones are compassionate, they sometimes confuse another person's need with their own assignment. But not every need is your assignment. Not every wound is yours to heal. Not every return is yours to restore. Not every apology requires immediate access. Not every person who misses you has been changed enough to meet the person you have become. So when the meeting comes, the first thing you must ask is not, what do they want? The first thing you must ask is, what enters the room when they approach? Does peace enter, or does pressure enter? Does clarity enter, or does confusion enter? Does accountability enter, or does blame enter wearing softer clothing? Does their presence call you upward, or does it pull you backward into the version of you who used to beg, explain, prove, chase, and overextend? This is not about being suspicious of everyone. This is not about becoming cold. This is not about punishing people forever for what they did before. This is about honoring the home that was built inside you while nobody was watching. Because some people are not returning to destroy you. Some are returning because something truly changed. Some are returning because they finally see what they could not see before. Some are returning because the cycle needs peace. Some are returning because closure is ready to speak. Some are returning because the conversation that was delayed has finally reached its appointed time. But some are returning because they miss control. Some are returning because your silence made them uncomfortable. Some are returning because they felt you pulling your energy back, and now they want to know if the door is still unlocked. Some are returning because they loved the old version of you, the version who was always available, always explaining, always forgiving without boundaries, always making room for people who never made room for your pain. That is why discernment matters. When they come, Do not only listen to what they say, listen to what their presence does to your peace. Because a person can say, "I am sorry," and still avoid responsibility. A person can say, "I miss you," and still only miss the access. A person can say, "I have changed," and still react the same way the moment you place a boundary. A person can say, "I want to talk," and still expect you to carry the whole conversation, soften the truth, protect their feelings, and forget your own. So do not be rushed by the sound of the knock. The first doorway question is this: does this bring peace, or does this bring pressure? Peace does not always mean easy. Sometimes peace is firm. Sometimes peace says no. Sometimes peace says wait. Sometimes peace says, hear them, but do not hand them the key. Sometimes peace feels serious because your spirit understands the weight of the moment. But pressure is different. Pressure demands speed. Pressure makes you feel guilty for needing time. Pressure says, answer now, decide now, prove you care now, show me I still matter now, open before you think, agree before you breathe, trust me before there is fruit. Chosen one, pressure is not proof of divine timing. Pressure is often what enters when peace is absent. And if something must rush you before wisdom can speak, you have a right to question what spirit is behind it. The second doorway question is this: does this reveal a new pattern, or the same pattern in a new outfit? This is where your wisdom must become honest. Do not be hypnotized by better language if the energy is the same. Do not be moved by tears if there is no accountability. Do not call it growth just because someone finally says what you wanted to hear when your heart was still raw. True change has fruit. It does not only speak differently, it responds differently when it does not get control. It listens differently when it is corrected. It handles your boundaries differently. It does not punish you for needing time. It does not make your healing feel like an inconvenience. It does not make you feel cruel for being careful. True change does not demand the same access it once abused. True change stands at the door with humility. It does not kick the door and call it love. The third doorway question is this: is there accountability, or are they rewriting the story? Accountability sounds clear. It does not hide behind vague words. It does not say, mistakes were made when a wound was caused. It does not say, I am sorry you felt that way, when the truth is, I hurt you. It does not demand immediate forgiveness as payment for a late apology. Accountability can sit in the room with truth. Manipulation cannot. Manipulation changes the subject. Manipulation makes you feel guilty for remembering. Manipulation says, why are you bringing up the past, when the past is the very reason this meeting is happening? Manipulation wants the comfort of reconciliation without the cost of honesty. Manipulation wants the door open, but it does not want the light turned on. And the fourth doorway question is this: what fruit is being produced in you after contact? After you speak to them, do you feel clearer, or do you feel scattered? Do you feel peaceful, or do you feel pulled back into mental arguments? Do you feel respected, or do you feel responsible for managing their emotions? Do you feel like your spirit can breathe, or do you feel like something in you has to become small to keep the connection alive? Your body may remember what your mind tries to excuse. Your spirit may know what your heart is not ready to admit. And your peace may tell the truth before the person does. This is why you must not shame yourself for needing time. Time is not always delay. Sometimes time is discernment. Sometimes time is the filter that separates emotion from truth. Sometimes time is the mercy that keeps you from giving permanent access during a temporary feeling. If they are truly changed, time will not destroy what is real. If the opportunity is truly aligned, wisdom will not ruin it. If the meeting is truly appointed, peace will not punish you for pausing. What is from God can survive your discernment. What is built on pressure usually cannot. But hear this with balance. If someone has harmed you, threatened you, stalked you, abused you, or made you unsafe, do not spiritualize access. Do not call danger a divine meeting. Do not call manipulation a test you must pass by enduring it again. Do not let anyone use spiritual language to pressure you into unsafe closeness. Protection can be holy. Distance can be wisdom. A closed door can be obedience. You can pray for someone and still not meet them alone. You can forgive someone and still not invite them into your home. You can release someone and still keep the boundary that protected your life. There is no spiritual maturity in pretending danger is peace. But for those of you who are not dealing with danger, but with confusion, history, unfinished words, old love, old grief, or a sudden return that you cannot ignore, this is where your inner posture matters. Because the meeting is part of a larger reorganization. Something is being rearranged around you. Relationships are being rearranged. Purpose is being rearranged. Peace is being rearranged. Your access points are being rearranged. And the meeting is only one visible piece of a much larger, invisible movement. In your relationships, you may notice that some people are being brought closer, while others are quietly losing access. This may hurt. You may wonder whether you are becoming distant. You may wonder whether you are being too guarded. You may wonder whether the old warmth is gone because something is wrong with you. But distance is not always rejection. Sometimes distance is truth finally taking shape. Some relationships were held together by your overfunctioning. You kept calling. You kept explaining. You kept absorbing. You kept forgiving before you were ready. You kept making excuses for behavior that kept wounding you. You kept the door open because you were afraid that if you closed it, you would prove you were hard, unloving, or selfish. But now the Father is teaching you that love without wisdom becomes leakage. Compassion without boundaries becomes exhaustion. Forgiveness without discernment becomes repeated injury. So when relationships reorganize, do not panic if some people cannot follow you into the new room. Do not chase every fading connection. Do not hold a door open for someone who only honors you when they are about to lose access. Trust what peace confirms. Trust what fruit reveals. Trust what your spirit has been trying to tell you quietly for a long time. And then there is purpose. This meeting may not only be relational, it may be connected to the work you are called to do. Someone may come with an offer. Someone may mention your name in a room you were not in. Someone may remember your gift. Someone may ask for your voice, your wisdom, your service, your leadership, your creativity, your presence, your message, your testimony, your calling. And when that happens, a different kind of fear may rise in you. Not fear of rejection, fear of being seen. Because some chosen ones are not afraid of failure anymore. They are afraid of the responsibility that comes with being recognized. They are afraid that if the door opens, they will not be ready. They are afraid that if the meeting happens, the hidden season is truly ending. They are afraid that the quiet life they built for survival will no longer be enough for the calling that is now asking for their yes. If that is you, listen carefully. Healthy fear is not always proof that you are unprepared. Sometimes, healthy fear is proof that you understand the weight of what is coming. Only foolish people carry sacred things casually. The fact that you feel the weight means you are not treating the assignment like entertainment. You are not treating the door like ego. You are not treating the meeting like a chance to prove people wrong. Something in you knows this is bigger than validation. So do not run from the door just because it is important. But also, do not rush through it just because it is exciting. Stand at the threshold until peace speaks. And this is where your mind matters. Because if your mind is crowded, even a real door can feel frightening. If your mind is tired, even a blessing can feel like pressure. If your mind is foggy, even a divine opportunity can be misread as chaos. If your mind is still trained by survival, you may sabotage what you once prayed for simply because it arrives with weight. That is why clarity must return before the meeting arrives. Not after, before. Do not wait until the message appears to begin preparing your mind. Do not wait until the call comes to begin quieting the noise. Do not wait until the opportunity opens to start separating fear from wisdom. Do not wait until the person stands before you to learn how to pause. Preparation begins before the knock. And for many chosen ones, the greatest battle right now is not that they do not have wisdom. The wisdom is there. The problem is that the mind has become too crowded to hear it clearly. Crowded with old conversations, crowded with what-ifs, crowded with why did they do that, crowded with what if they come back, crowded with what if they never do, crowded with the pressure to choose correctly, respond correctly, heal correctly, forgive correctly, move on correctly, and become who they are called to be without ever feeling confused. But clarity is returning, not all at once, not loudly, not as a dramatic sign in the sky. It may return as a quiet knowing. It may return as a calm no. It may return as a steady yes. It may return as the ability to hear a message and not immediately react. It may return as the strength to let someone wait while your spirit checks the door. Do not mistake quiet for emptiness. Sometimes quiet is the sound of your inner home being restored. But this is also where many chosen ones fail the test. Not because they do not hear guidance, but because guilt gets there first. Guilt opens the door before peace finishes speaking. Guilt says, answer them now, they might feel rejected. Guilt says, explain everything, they might misunderstand you. Guilt says, be available, they are hurting. Guilt says, do not make them uncomfortable, even if their comfort costs you your clarity. Guilt says, if you were truly spiritual, you would not need boundaries. That is a lie. Boundaries are not betrayal. Distance is not hatred. Silence is not cruelty. Caution is not unforgiveness. Pausing is not pride. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to take time. You are allowed to protect your home. You are allowed to let someone's words be tested by their fruit. You are allowed to forgive without giving immediate access. You are allowed to love without becoming available to confusion. You are allowed to say, I hear you, but I need time. You are allowed to say, I wish you peace, but I cannot reopen this door. You are allowed to say, I am not ready to answer. You are allowed to say nothing until your spirit is clear. And you do not owe anyone an apology for becoming too whole to be handled casually. Let that reach the place in you that still feels responsible for everyone else's reaction. You are not cruel for protecting what nearly died in you. You are not selfish for guarding the peace you had to fight for. You are not unspiritual because you no longer confuse access with love. The old version of you believed that if someone knocked, you had to open. The healed version of you understands that a sacred home needs a sacred gate. And this is why your mind must be clear before the meeting arrives. Because when your mind is trapped in survival noise, everything becomes harder to discern. A familiar voice can sound like destiny. A sudden opportunity can sound like pressure. An apology can sound like proof. A memory can sound like instruction. A lonely night can make an old door look safe again. And when your inner world is crowded with fear, guilt, exhaustion, and emotional noise, even the wisdom already inside you can feel far away. That is why I want to return to something I seeded earlier. A chosen one does not only need a sensitive heart. A chosen one needs a clear mind. Because a sensitive heart without a clear mind can become overwhelmed. A compassionate heart without a clear mind can become manipulated. A forgiving heart without a clear mind can reopen doors that should remain closed. A gifted spirit without a clear mind can misread anxiety as intuition. This is where science and the spiritual life meet in a very interesting way. Researchers have studied different brainwave states for years, and one of the most fascinating states often discussed in connection with heightened awareness, learning, focus, and insight is the gamma state. Many people describe moments of deep clarity as if their mind suddenly becomes awake, connected, sharper, more present, like scattered thoughts begin to organize, like the noise turns down, like the inner signal becomes easier to hear. And if you think back to childhood, you may remember that there was a time when life felt more open. You learned faster. You imagined more freely. You sensed things without overthinking them. You trusted your inner knowing before the world trained you to doubt it. You could enter flow without forcing it. Then life happened. Pressure happened. Rejection happened. Survival happened. Responsibilities happened. Disappointment happened. The world became louder. And for many chosen ones, the inner signal became harder to hear. Not because the signal disappeared, but because the static grew louder. And this matters for the season you are in. Because before the meeting arrives, before the old name appears, before the opportunity opens, before the apology comes, before the door is touched, you need your inner signal to become clear again. You need to know when peace is speaking. You need to know when fear is pretending to protect you. You need to know when guilt is trying to take the key. You need to know when a door is divine and when it is only familiar. This is why I want to mention something for those who feel led to explore it. There is a 7-minute audio ritual called the Genius Song. It is designed around sound-based brain entrainment, with the intention of supporting mental clarity and helping the mind enter a more focused, receptive state. You use it with headphones, quietly, for 7 minutes a day, not for an hour, not through a complicated routine, not by forcing yourself into some exhausting practice, just 7 minutes. And I want to be clear with you. This is not a magic button. It does not replace prayer. It does not replace wisdom. It does not replace discernment. It does not replace therapy, healing, accountability, practical decisions, or the hard work of becoming whole. Do not let anyone sell you the fantasy that one audio track does all the inner work for you. But sometimes a tool arrives at the right time to support what your spirit is already trying to restore. Think of your mind like a radio. The message may already be present. The guidance may already be near. The wisdom may already be inside you. But if the signal is covered with static, you struggle to hear clearly. A tool like the Genius Song is meant to support the tuning process, so the mind can become quieter, sharper, and more receptive to clarity. And for this message, that matters deeply, because when the meeting comes, you do not want panic to answer first. You do not want guilt to answer first. You do not want the old wound to answer first. You do not want the frightened version of you to open the door before peace has spoken. You want clarity to arrive before the conversation. You want your mind prepared before the name appears. You want your spirit steady before the opportunity comes. You want to be able to pause, listen, breathe, and discern without being hijacked by fear. That is why this tool may be important for some of you right now. Not because it is the source of your power. Your power does not come from an audio. Your identity does not come from a product. Your calling does not come from a frequency. But if your mind has been crowded, if your thoughts have felt heavy, if you have been sensing something coming, but you cannot tell whether you are hearing wisdom or anxiety, then a simple daily practice that supports mental clarity may help you prepare your inner room. Use it before the meeting. Use it before the call. Use it before you respond to the message. Use it before the old wound tries to make a decision for you. Use it in the morning when your mind is still open. Use it at night when the old thoughts try to come back. Use it when you need to remember that you do not decide under pressure. Again, not as a magic solution, as a preparation tool, as a quiet reset, as a way to help the noise come down so peace has room to speak. The information behind the Genius Song describes it as a simple 7-minute listening practice created to support gamma wave activation through sound. It says many people use it to feel more focused, more mentally clear, and more connected during the day. And one of the reasons I believe it fits this message is because the coming meeting will require more than emotion. It will require clarity. It will require the ability to listen without being controlled. It will require the ability to feel something deeply without obeying the first feeling that appears. It will require the ability to tell the difference between peace and pressure, between love and access, between apology and accountability, between opportunity and assignment, between the old door and the next season. And if your mind has been foggy, distracted, or heavy lately, then maybe this is one practical way to begin preparing before the moment arrives. If you feel drawn to explore the Genius song, I placed the link in the description and the pinned comment. Go through that link. Not a random search, because there are fake versions and copycat pages using similar names. Some are just ordinary audio files without the same presentation, bonuses, or guarantee described on the official page. The safest way to check the real version is through the link in the description and the pinned comment. And please hear this clearly. Do not buy from pressure. Do not buy from fear. Do not buy because someone made you feel incomplete without it. That is not the spirit of this message. Only explore it if you feel peace, if your practical life allows it, and if you sense that mental clarity is something you are being invited to strengthen in this season. Because the goal is not to make you dependent on a tool. The goal is to help you become clear enough to stop being controlled by confusion. And if this is for you, do not wait until the meeting arrives to begin preparing. Start before the knock. Start before the message. Start before the opportunity. Start before the old cycle tries to test your access points again. Because clarity before the meeting can protect you from regret after the meeting. And now, return to the doorway. No tool replaces discernment. No audio replaces wisdom. No frequency replaces obedience. But when the mind becomes quieter, the spirit can often be heard more clearly. And for this meeting, clarity matters. Because something is approaching the doorway of your life. And you cannot afford to answer from mental fog. You cannot afford to answer from panic. You cannot afford to answer from guilt. You cannot afford to answer from the version of you who was still trying to prove your worth to people who mishandled your presence. There is a version of you that would have opened too quickly. There is a version of you that would have apologized for needing boundaries. There is a version of you that would have confused being chosen with being endlessly available. But that version has been passing away. And maybe this meeting is coming now because the old version is no longer the one who will answer. Let me show you what this looks like. Imagine the name appears on your phone. For 1 second, your body reacts before your mind can speak. Your heart beats faster. Your stomach tightens. Your thoughts start running. Why are they messaging now? What do they want? Should I answer? What if this is the conversation I have been waiting for? What if I ignore it and miss something? What if they finally changed? What if they only came back to hurt me again? This is the first wave. The first wave is usually memory. It carries old emotions, old hope, old fear, old pain, old attachment, old dreams, old disappointment. Do not obey the first wave. Let it pass. Then comes the second wave. The second wave is emotion. Maybe sadness, maybe anger, maybe curiosity, maybe longing, maybe relief, maybe confusion, maybe the old desire to be seen. Do not obey the second wave either. Let it speak, but do not let it drive. Then comes the deeper wave. Wisdom. Wisdom is usually quieter. Wisdom does not panic. Wisdom does not need to perform. Wisdom does not need to answer instantly. Wisdom may say, wait. Wisdom may say, this is closure. Wisdom may say, listen, but do not open fully. Wisdom may say, this is not safe. Wisdom may say, this is different, but still move slowly. Wisdom may say, the door is not for them anymore. Wisdom may say, receive the apology, but keep the boundary. Wisdom may say, this opportunity is real, but do not worship it. Wisdom may say, you are ready, but you still need peace. That is why you must give wisdom time to rise. If you answer in the first wave, you may answer from the wound. If you answer in the second wave, you may answer from emotion. But if you wait for the deeper wave, you can answer from formation. And chosen one, formation is what this season has been about. God did not carry you through all that silence, just for you to surrender your peace at the first familiar knock. God did not rebuild your inner home just for you to leave the door open to every old voice. God did not teach you discernment just for you to call pressure love. God did not strengthen you in private just for you to collapse in the meeting. You have been trained for this. Not trained to be hard, trained to be whole. Not trained to be suspicious, trained to be sober. Not trained to reject everything, trained to test everything. Not trained to close your heart, trained to guard the house. And this is the part of the message you must hold tightly. The meeting may be beautiful. Do not assume it will be bad. Do not let fear make you reject what peace may be sending. Some meetings are restoration. Some conversations are healing. Some apologies are real. Some opportunities are divine. Some returns are not traps. Some doors are answers. Some people really do change. Some rooms really are prepared for you. Some invitations really are part of your next season. So do not let the old wound make you suspicious of every blessing. But also do not let old hope make you blind to every warning. That is why the doorway rule is not never open. The doorway rule is only peace gets access. Not fear, not fantasy, not loneliness, not guilt, not pressure, not desperation. Peace. Peace may open the door. Peace may close the door. Peace may tell you to wait at the door. Peace may tell you to speak through the door. Peace may tell you the door is not yours to touch anymore. Peace may tell you to walk into a room you never thought you would enter. But peace will not require you to betray your spirit. Peace will not require you to become small. Peace will not require you to ignore fruit. Peace will not require you to silence the truth to preserve someone else's comfort. Peace will not require you to reopen what God already closed. Peace will not require you to rush into what wisdom has not confirmed. This is the difference. Fear closes everything. Desperation opens everything. Peace discerns, and you are being taught to discern. Now, I want to speak to the chosen one who feels like something is approaching, but you cannot tell whether it is restoration, closure, a test, or assignment. Restoration carries peace with accountability, not perfection. Accountability. The person may still be nervous. The conversation may still be emotional, but there will be a willingness to honor truth, a willingness to respect your boundaries, a willingness to rebuild slowly, a willingness to show fruit over time. Restoration does not rush the door open. Restoration understands why the door has a gate. Closure carries peace with release. It may not give you every answer. It may not make them understand everything. It may not turn the story into what you once hoped it would be. But something inside you will know, I can stop carrying this now. Closure does not always come through their words. Sometimes closure comes when you realize you no longer need their words to be free. A test carries pressure around an old pattern. It feels familiar, but not holy. It pulls on the same wound. It asks for the same access. It triggers the same fear. It tries to make you prove the same love. It makes you feel like you must abandon yourself to keep connection alive. A test often appears when you are strong enough to choose differently, and assignment carries peace with weight. It may feel serious. It may stretch you. It may ask for courage. It may open a door that feels bigger than your current confidence. But underneath the weight, there is a quiet confirmation. Not ego, not panic, not the need to prove. A steady knowing. This is connected to my next season. This is why you need a clear mind. Because without clarity, restoration can be confused with temptation. Closure can be confused with rejection. A test can be confused with destiny. An assignment can be confused with fear. But when clarity returns, you begin to recognize the difference. You stop asking only, does this feel intense? And you start asking, what fruit does this carry? You stop asking only, did they come back? And you start asking, what spirit came with them? You stop asking only, is the door open? And you start asking, is peace standing at the threshold? This is spiritual maturity. Not being moved by every sign, not being ruled by every emotion, not being impressed by every return, not being terrified of every change, but standing in the middle of it all and saying, I will not decide under pressure. I will not open from guilt. I will not close from fear. I will not rush from excitement. I will not answer from the wound. I will wait until peace speaks. And if this is reaching something in you right now, then comment this sentence. I will wait until peace speaks. Because that sentence is not just a comment. It is a declaration. It tells the old pattern, you cannot rush me anymore. It tells the past, you cannot command me anymore. It tells fear, you cannot drive me anymore. It tells guilt, you cannot hold the key anymore. It tells your future, I am learning how to move from peace, not panic. I will wait until peace speaks. Carry that sentence with you. When the name appears, when the call comes, when the opportunity opens, when the old door makes noise again, when the new door looks bigger than you expected, when your emotions rise before your wisdom has had time to speak. I will wait until peace speaks. Because peace is not passive. Peace is powerful. Peace is not weakness. Peace is authority under control. Peace is not avoidance. Peace is alignment. Peace does not mean you are doing nothing. Peace means you are refusing to let the wrong thing lead you. And that is what the doorway requires. The door requires a keeper who is not easily manipulated. The door requires a mind that can pause. The door requires a heart that can forgive without becoming careless. The door requires a spirit that can sense the difference between a divine return and a familiar trap. The door requires someone who knows that being chosen does not mean being endlessly available. It means being consecrated, set apart, not for pride, for purpose, not to reject everyone, but to stop letting everything enter. You are not a public hallway. You are a sacred house, and sacred things require gates. Now prepare yourself, because in the next part, we are going to go even deeper. We are going to prepare the 3 rooms inside you before the meeting arrives. The room of the mind, the room of the heart, and the room of the door itself. Because each room must be ready. Your mind must know how to reject pressure. Your heart must know how to forgive without surrendering access. And your door must know how to open only when peace, wisdom, timing, and fruit stand together. Then, I am going to lead you through a simple inner action you can use before the meeting comes. So when the name appears, when the message arrives, when the opportunity opens, when the past stands before you again, you will not be defenseless. You will know what to say inside yourself. You will know where to stand. You will know who holds the key. And until then, let this sentence remain over your threshold. Only peace gets access. And let this sentence become your response to pressure. I will wait until peace speaks. Because the meeting may come without warning. But you will not meet it unprepared. But you will not meet it unprepared. Because preparation is not panic. Preparation is not overthinking. Preparation is not checking your phone every few minutes, wondering if the message has arrived. Preparation is not rehearsing the conversation until your mind becomes exhausted. Preparation is not trying to predict every possible outcome before the door is even approached. Preparation is alignment. Preparation is returning to the place inside you where peace has authority again. Preparation is building the inner room so strong that no sudden knock can make you abandon yourself. And now, chosen one, I want you to prepare 3 rooms inside your inner house. The room of the mind, the room of the heart, and the room of the door itself. Because if these 3 rooms are not prepared, the meeting can arrive and find you scattered. But if these 3 rooms are ready, then even if the meeting comes without warning, you will not be controlled by it. You will be present. You will be awake. You will be able to listen. You will be able to discern. You will be able to open, pause, answer, release, or walk away without betraying your own soul. The first room is the room of the mind. This is where confusion tries to enter first. Confusion does not always enter like darkness. Sometimes it enters like questions. What if they mean it this time? What if this is my only chance? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I close the wrong door? What if I am being too guarded? What if I am missing a blessing? What if this is God and I am too afraid to recognize it? What if this is not God and I am too hopeful to see it? The mind can take one knock and turn it into 100 imagined outcomes. The mind can take one message and build an entire future from it. The mind can take one apology and forget the pattern that made the apology necessary. The mind can take one opportunity and turn it into desperation. That is why your mind must receive a command before the meeting comes. The command is simple. I do not decide under pressure. Let that sentence stand in your mind like a lamp in a dark hallway. I do not decide under pressure. If a message comes, you do not have to answer immediately. If an apology comes, you do not have to give the person full access in the same moment. If an opportunity comes, you do not have to say yes just because the door is open. If a conversation begins, you do not have to reveal every tender place inside you just because someone finally asked. You are allowed to let time test what emotion presents. You are allowed to let peace arrive before your response leaves. You are allowed to let the first wave pass, because the first wave is often memory. The second wave is emotion, but the deeper wave is wisdom. And wisdom usually speaks after panic realizes it is not in charge anymore. So when the meeting comes, do not ask only, what do I feel right now? Ask, what remains after the first wave passes? If only fear remains, wait. If only guilt remains, wait. If only pressure remains, wait. If only confusion remains, wait. If peace remains, listen closer. If clarity remains, move carefully. If truth remains, honor it. This is how the mind room becomes ready, not by having every answer, but by refusing to be ruled by the first feeling, not by becoming emotionless, but by letting wisdom lead emotion, not by shutting down, but by slowing down long enough for peace to speak. And if your mind has felt crowded lately, if your thoughts have felt heavy, if you have been sensing something coming but you cannot tell whether it is intuition or anxiety, then take that seriously. Do not shame yourself for needing support. Do not pretend clarity will return by accident while you keep feeding your mind noise. Turn the noise down. Protect your mornings. Protect your nights. Stop letting old conversations replay endlessly. Stop feeding your nervous system with every fear, every memory, every possibility, every imaginary outcome. This is why I mentioned the Genius song earlier, not to distract you from the message, but because this message is about preparation, and mental clarity is part of preparation. If you feel led to explore it, use the link in the description or the pinned comment. Not from fear, not from pressure, not because you are incomplete without it, but because 7 quiet minutes a day may become one of the small practices that helps your mind become still enough to recognize peace before the meeting arrives. Again, no tool replaces God. No audio replaces wisdom. No sound replaces discernment. But a clear mind can help you hear what your spirit has been trying to say. And when the meeting comes, you will be grateful for anything that helped you stop reacting from panic. That is the room of the mind. Now the second room is the room of the heart. This room is tender because the heart remembers. It remembers who you loved. It remembers what you hoped for. It remembers the version of them you prayed they would become. It remembers the conversations that never happened. It remembers the apologies that never came. It remembers the moments when you blamed yourself, because blaming yourself felt easier than accepting that someone else chose not to handle your heart well. The heart remembers the door when it was still open. The heart remembers waiting. The heart remembers wanting things to end differently. So prepare the heart room with mercy. Not only mercy for them, mercy for you. You do not have to be embarrassed because you once cared deeply. You do not have to hate the version of you who waited. You do not have to despise the version of you who explained. You do not have to mock the version of you who stayed too long, cried too hard, prayed too often, hoped too deeply, or believed there was still something worth saving. That version of you was doing the best they could with the wisdom they had at the time. Do not shame the old you for surviving with the tools available then. Honor the old you for making it this far. But do not hand the old you the keys to the new house. The heart room must understand the difference between forgiveness and access. Forgiveness releases the poison from your own spirit. Access decides who is allowed to come close. Forgiveness can happen between you and God. Access requires fruit from the other person. Forgiveness can be immediate in intention. Access can be slow in wisdom. Forgiveness says, I will not let bitterness own me. Access says, I will not let carelessness enter me. Forgiveness is holy. Access is earned. And when you understand this, your heart stops calling every boundary unloving. You can forgive and still pause. You can forgive and still watch. You can forgive and still say, I am not ready. You can forgive and still say, this door will not open again. You can forgive and still choose distance, because distance is where peace lives now. Prepare your heart by releasing the need for the meeting to give you everything you wanted years ago. Maybe they will apologize. Maybe they will not. Maybe they will understand. Maybe they will still deny. Maybe they will come with tears. Maybe they will come with excuses. Maybe they will come with a real changed spirit. Maybe they will come with the same pattern, just dressed in softer language. But your healing cannot depend on their performance. Your peace cannot depend on their maturity. Your wholeness cannot depend on their ability to finally see you. Because you are not waiting to become whole. You are learning to meet the world from the wholeness God has already been building in you. There is an old word often connected with peace, wholeness, and completeness. Shalom. It is not only the absence of noise. It carries the sense of things being whole, sound, complete, restored into proper order. That is what your inner home needs. Not just quiet, wholeness, not just the absence of conflict, order, not just nobody bothering you. The deep settled, knowing that your spirit is no longer scattered across the hands of people who did not know how to hold you. That is the heart room. And now the third room is the room of the door itself. This is where your boundary lives. And this room must be practical, because being spiritual does not mean being careless with your actual life. If someone has been unsafe, if someone has threatened you, if someone has crossed lines before, if someone has made your body feel danger, then wisdom does not require you to meet them alone. Wisdom does not require you to answer the door. Wisdom does not require you to prove you are healed by standing near what harmed you. Sometimes the most sacred answer is no. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is protect your peace in a practical way. Sometimes the door does not need a conversation. It needs a lock. Do not let anyone use spiritual language to pressure you into unsafe access. God does not require you to abandon wisdom to prove forgiveness. But if the meeting is not dangerous, only emotionally heavy, then prepare the door with patience. Your door does not have to swing open because someone knocks loudly. Your door does not have to open because someone says they need closure. Your door does not have to open because someone says they miss you. Your door does not have to open because an opportunity looks impressive. Your door opens when peace, wisdom, timing, and fruit stand together. That is the room of the door. Mind clear, heart whole, door guarded. This is how you prepare. And now, without moving your body, without needing to close your eyes, without needing to write anything down, I want you to do one inner action. Picture the house within you. Not a perfect house, a sacred house, a house that has been through storms, a house that has had broken windows repaired, a house that has had rooms cleaned out after old grief lived there too long, a house where certain voices once echoed, but now there is space again, a house that once had doors left open because you did not know your peace was valuable, a house that once had rooms filled with memories, apologies that never came, explanations you never received, and conversations you kept having alone. But now the house is different. It has been restored in hidden places. It has been strengthened in places nobody saw. It has been cleaned by tears. It has been guarded by wisdom. It has been rebuilt by God. See yourself inside that house. You are not outside begging for entry. You are not standing on the porch waiting for someone to choose you. You are not looking through the window wondering if you are allowed to belong. You are inside. You are home. Now imagine the front door of that inner house. Do not open it. Just stand on the inside of it in your spirit. Behind that door is every possible meeting. A person from the past. A message. An apology. An opportunity. A memory. A test. A conversation. A door to the next season. A final echo of an old cycle. You do not need to know which one is coming right now. You only need to know who holds the key. You do. Now place this command over the door. Only what carries peace may enter. Let the command settle there. Only what carries peace may enter. Now, imagine the room behind you becoming brighter. Not loud, not dramatic, just clear. The kind of light that does not blind, but reveals. It reveals what is clean. It reveals what is still tender. It reveals what no longer belongs. It reveals that your house is not empty. It is protected. Now imagine every old voice that once rushed you becoming quieter. The voice that said, "Answer now." The voice that said, "Prove you care." The voice that said, "Do not disappoint them." The voice that said, "What if you lose them?" The voice that said, "What if this is your only chance?" The voice that said, "If you were truly loving, you would open." The voice that said, "If you were truly chosen, you would save everyone." Let those voices step back from the door. They do not get to decide anymore. Now let peace step forward. Not emotion, not guilt, not fear, not loneliness, not the old wound. Peace. Let peace stand at the door with you. And in your spirit, say this without needing to move your lips. I will not open from fear. I will not open from guilt. I will not open from pressure. I will not open from loneliness. I will not open from old attachment. I will not open from the need to be chosen. I will open only when peace confirms. That is your inner action. That is your preparation. That is the seal over the doorway. And if this feels true for you, comment this simple sentence: "My home is protected by peace." Not because the comment itself has magic power, but because your agreement matters. Sometimes the spirit needs a line in the sand. Sometimes your future needs to hear your present self declare, "I am no longer available to every knock. I am no longer ruled by every return. I am no longer controlled by every old voice that remembers where the door used to be. My home is protected by peace." Carry that sentence with you, because when the meeting comes, you may need it. You may need it when your heart beats faster. You may need it when a name appears on your screen. You may need it when an opportunity opens suddenly. You may need it when someone says the words you waited a long time to hear. You may need it when the past sounds tender. You may need it when the old wound tries to answer before wisdom can speak. My home is protected by peace. And now let the final truth settle over this entire message. They may come, but they are not the center. The meeting may happen, but the meeting is not your master. The door may be approached, but the door belongs to the house within you. The apology may come, but the apology does not create your worth. The opportunity may come, but the opportunity does not create your calling. The conversation may come, but the conversation does not create your healing. You were being formed before this moment. You were being restored before they returned. You were being prepared before the door was approached. You were being strengthened when nobody saw you choosing peace in private. And that private formation is what will carry you now. You are the spiritual warrior who does not collapse under pressure. You are the truth carrier who can feel when words do not match fruit. You are the seer who notices what others miss. You are the bridge who can hold compassion and wisdom at the same time. You are the wounded healer who has learned that pain can become medicine, but it must not become an open wound for everyone to touch. This is who you are becoming. Not bitter, clear, not closed, consecrated, not afraid, awake, not hard, whole, not desperate, ready. And readiness is not the same as knowing every detail. Readiness means you can stand in uncertainty without surrendering your peace. Readiness means you can hear a knock without losing your center. Readiness means you can receive a message without letting your nervous system become your guide. Readiness means you can let someone speak without letting their words rewrite what you know. Readiness means you can open, pause, answer, wait, forgive, release, or walk away without betraying your own soul. That is readiness. So when they come without warning, remember this. You were warned in your spirit before they arrived in your life. You were prepared in silence before the conversation became visible. You were taught discernment before the door was touched. You were given peace before the pressure came. You were not left defenseless. You were not left confused. You were not left alone. There is a higher intelligence moving through the timing of your life, and even when you do not know every detail, you can trust that your spirit has been trained for this moment. If the meeting is for restoration, peace will confirm it through fruit. If the meeting is for closure, peace will help you release without hatred. If the meeting is for assignment, peace will steady you before you step forward. If the meeting is a test, peace will show you where the old pattern is trying to enter. If the meeting is not yours, peace will give you permission to let the knock remain unanswered. Do not open every door. Open only what peace confirms. And if you feel that your mind has been too crowded lately, if you know you have been hearing the knock but struggling to find the stillness, then do not ignore the tool I mentioned earlier. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Use the Genius song only if you feel peace about it. Use it as a 7-minute daily preparation. Use it before the meeting arrives. Use it before the conversation. Use it before the decision. Use it before the old wound tries to speak louder than wisdom. Not because the audio is your savior. It is not. Not because a tool is your source. It is not. But because sometimes one small daily practice can help your mind become quiet enough to recognize the guidance that was already there. And if you choose to explore it, use the link provided here, because the real version, the bonuses, and the guarantee are connected through that path. Do not search randomly and assume every page using the same name is the same. And if it is not the right time for you, stay in peace. This message is not about pressure. This message is about clarity. Because the deeper truth is this: whether you use a tool or not, whether they come today or later, whether the meeting is with a person, a door, an apology, an opportunity, or a final test from the old cycle, your assignment remains the same. Protect the house within you. Protect the clarity God is restoring. Protect the peace you had to fight for. Protect the version of you who no longer survives by betraying yourself. Now, I want to speak a blessing over your home, your heart, your mind, and your threshold. May your home be covered in peace. May your inner rooms be filled with clarity. May every place in you that has been crowded with fear become quiet enough to hear wisdom again. May every old voice that used guilt to reach you lose its power. May every false urgency fall away before it touches your decision. May every apology be tested by fruit. May every opportunity be tested by peace. May every return be tested by truth. May every familiar voice be required to honor the person you have become. May you never again mistake pressure for timing. May you never again mistake access for love. May you never again mistake confusion for confirmation. May you never again mistake being needed for being chosen. May you never again abandon yourself just because something familiar knocks. May you never again give sacred access to unsacred patterns. May you never again call fear wisdom or call desperation faith. May your mind become calm. May your heart become whole. May your door become guarded. May your spirit become steady. May your peace become louder than your panic. May your wisdom become stronger than your guilt. May your discernment become clearer than your old attachment. May you know when to open. May you know when to pause. May you know when to listen. May you know when to release. May you know when to walk away. May you know when restoration is real. May you know when closure is enough. May you know when the opportunity is aligned. May you know when the old cycle is only testing the lock. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to breathe inside your spirit before you respond. You are allowed to protect what God is building in you. You are allowed to keep the door closed when peace is absent. You are allowed to open slowly when peace is present. You are allowed to forgive without rushing. You are allowed to listen without surrendering. You are allowed to be kind without becoming available to chaos. You are allowed to be whole. And if nobody has told you this, let this message tell you now. You are not who they left. You are who God formed. You are not the same person who begged for understanding. You are not the same person who broke themselves trying to keep a connection alive. You are not the same person who opened the door because loneliness knocked from the inside. You are not the same person who believed that if someone returned, it meant you finally mattered. You mattered before they left. You mattered while they were gone. You matter even if they never come back correctly. You matter even if the apology never sounds the way you hoped. You matter even if the opportunity takes longer than you expected. You matter even if the meeting is only closure and not restoration. You matter because your life was never meant to be measured by who knew how to value it. So prepare for the meeting, but do not worship the meeting. Prepare for the return, but do not build your identity around the return. Prepare for the door, but remember, the house is sacred because you are in it. And whatever comes next, you will not meet it as the wounded version of you who only wanted to be chosen. You will meet it as the formed version of you who finally knows. Only peace gets access. If this message spoke to the place in you that has been sensing something coming, stay connected to this channel, because the next messages will help you keep walking through this season with wisdom, clarity, and peace. Share this with one chosen one who may be feeling the same strange preparation but cannot explain it yet. And comment the sentence that seals this message over your life. My home is protected by peace, because the meeting may come without warning, but you will not meet it unprepared. You will not meet it from panic. You will not meet it from guilt. You will not meet it from old attachment. You will not meet it from the wound. You will meet it from peace. You will meet it from clarity. You will meet it from wisdom. You will meet it from the house God rebuilt inside you. And when the knock comes, you will remember. A knock is not a command. A familiar voice is not a key. An apology is not automatic access. An opportunity is not automatic obedience. A return is not always restoration. A delay was not always denial. A closed door was not always rejection. And peace is not weakness. Peace is the gate. Peace is the guard. Peace is the witness. Peace is the confirmation. Only peace gets access. Only peace gets access. Only peace gets access.